So good morning, everyone. Again, I want to thank you, Sinter Cafe, on behalf of S&D Coffee and Tea, and I want to congratulate on the 30th anniversary. Congratulations. So I led S&D Sustainable Sourcing Platform, which I will be talking about this morning. Today, I manage the sustainable programs in Central and South America. I am based in Bogota, Colombia, which allows me to be very close with our partners, importers, exporters, cooperatives, among others, to ensure successful implementation of the S&D platform. Before going in depth about Raíz, which is the name of our sustainable platform, I want to review some background about business today and where we come from in order to develop this approach. Business today are redefining the corporate ecosystem by designing models that create value for all stakeholders, including employees, shareholders, supply chain, civil society, and the consumers. Supply chains as well can be affected by climate change, water scarcity, and poor labor conditions, and that increase our risk. Managing risk, therefore, requires making investment decisions today for a long-term capacity building and developing adaptive strategies at origin. To address the supply chain risk and climate change threats for coffee supply chain, S&D has been invested in developing Raíz, which is a response to today's customers and consumers' awareness of the impact they do in our world. Today, business must include these to succeed. So for us, we create Raíz that includes our corporate social responsibility that covers employees development, recycling, water and fuel conservation, community engagement, industry leadership, and ethical sourcing for non-commodities. As well, Raíz includes our sustainable sourcing practices that refers to a resilient supply chain for coffee and tea. A sustainable supply chain is very critical to the future of global markets. That's why Raíz is our sourcing platform rooted in impact. In fact, as you see, the Spanish word Raíz literally translates root. This strategic approach ensures our long-term supply chain. I will come back to explain later in more detail what Raíz means, but before I want to highlight the key two whys that we identify to go to this approach. So the first one we have been hearing as well in this conference is the market demand. Meeting future demand for coffee requires explore sustainability practices. According with recent market studies, we will need to increase the production for about 4 to 14 million tons of coffee each year. So we need to meet that demand. Meeting that demand will require a new approach for farmer sustainability. All of this data is according with Conservation International, ICO, and other market analysts. Then we have the market demand. But the market demand, we need to recognize the growing consumer interest in sustainable products. Sustainability is even impactful beyond just the coffee, the product. Also, where you drink your coffee. For example, McDonald's in 2014, and more recent in the news, released to change how they are going to sort all their coffee by 2020. This is a later sign of growing consumer demand for more sustainable products, specifically in the coffee industry. These moves reflect a large food service trend. As you can see in the graph, 45% of the millennials say that they think more positively for those coffee companies that who sell a sustainable product. And a quarter of them claim that they will go out of their way to get that product or that coffee, according with our S&D recent research. And more importantly, they are willing to pay more for that product. So before going in depth on this, I want historically to highlight how coffee remained very strong even after the 2008 recession, when the economists said that the profits from coffee will plummet. Coffee has been always important on the consumption, but purchasing behavior changed, and really changed for the millennials, as we have been hearing later. As many marketers have realized, millennials have a very powerful purchase behavior. It's about 200 billion of purchasing power each year. So they care about the product, they are more careful to select that product that goes with their values, and they are willing to support those companies that speak to those values. They prefer to support companies that reflect organizational level with investment in an added value chain, and products and services that are really helping lives, in this case, farmers. The next generation of coffee consumers has a more personal relationship with those products, and they support that brand. More than 50% of the millennials make an effort to buy a product that is sustainable source. And as I mentioned, very important, they're willing to pay more. Specifically on coffee, in our recent research, they're willing to pay up to 50 cents per cup of coffee. If you think about that, it's a very strong opportunity for us. As millennials start expecting higher prices than a higher price for coffee, it will be a commonplace, not only for the millennials, but also for the regular coffee consumer. So sustainability has a wide-range impact. It makes millennials customers feel good about what they drink, about the things that they're supporting, because it has some elevated perceptions in really important areas. But it's not only the sustainability. When you talk about also a high-value coffee, you are also getting the attributes of quality, freshness, flavor, and health. And finally, as we go higher in the pyramid, and here is where opportunity is with elevated coffee needs, you see all about emotions. So the millennials will care about those emotions, social and environmental responsibility, trendiness, and a brand image. So here is the opportunity for us. This is the higher attributes that will differentiate our products as coffee companies, and that's when we can supply that need for the millennial coffee drinker. So more importantly, they are highly engaged emotionally, and they will be leading that the coffee drinking consumer will change, not only for the millennials, but as I mentioned, for the other consumers. So the market demand as well pressure producers. If we think about 4 million tons to 14 million tons that we need to produce every year, so we need to triple the productivity. So that adds a lot of pressure to our farmers. Adding to that, we have the threat of climate change. And more importantly, we have really to think about the farmers' economic sustainability. In the past few years, our farmers at origin have been raising the issue of not generating enough income from coffee to sustain their livelihoods and their farming practices. Studies on cost of production and sustainability, like the ICO recent release, is calling us to be aware of this issue. All of these relevant efforts and study has made us to think deeply on the economic sustainability of coffee, understanding the price volatility, the external factors that you cannot control, farmers cannot control, like disease, plagues, all the climate change, and the uncertainty of having the economic viability for farmers. More importantly, this won't make any attractive to the next generation of coffee growers. If you think about it, in my country, in Colombia, the average is going up. Farmers are 50 years, even 60 years old in average. So we need really to create new opportunities so our next generation of coffee growers want to join this industry. So I highlight the market demand, the economic profitability of farmers, and the threat of climate change. So with those, what are the keys that can unlock the answers to the long-term sustainability? There is no magical recipe that we have found, not myself, no S&D. When I found, I will tell you. But S&D, as many of you here in this room, are looking to invest in sustainability in different approaches. For us, we decided to go towards a verification system that we call Raíz and creating our own sourcing platform. Today, Raiz is a unique, inclusive approach, delivering maximum impact at the farm level. S&D partners with the small and medium farmers through our origin partners, exporter, importers, cooperatives, and then establish an ongoing collaboration so we can really understand origin and deliver the impact that there is need. It is very important to highlight partnerships as well with Conservation International that has been helping us to lead this verification system, as well the Committee on Sustainability Assessment, Grant Thornton, and of course on T 2030, among other partners that have been helping us. So, just to give you an overview, RISE has the following main components that I already talked about. Corporate social responsibility, in US, embracing responsibility for our company actions. Sustainable sourcing, so managing supply and a reputational risk for the ground up by promoting best agricultural practices at origin. And I think very important, sustainability is becoming this marketing tool. Because if we see that consumers want to pay more, how we use that information in order to meet today's needs and the future needs for consumers. So, oh, sorry. Uh-oh. That hearing from myself, what is Raiz, I wanted you to hear from one of our partners in Colombia.
We've been working with S&D for 4 years on different projects. S&D works directly with the Producer Association on sustainability standards and in soil labs. Together, we were able to improve issues such as profitability and productivity, because for coffee to be sustainable, it has to be profitable. One of the important projects has been that of the Soil Lab. It's the first time a Colombian cooperative has the opportunity to have a state-of-the-art lab in Antioquia, and it serves all of our 3,600 members, the entire coffee growing community in Antioquia. This project helps us to increase productivity, improve soil conditions by adding necessary nutrients, and to improve overall coffee quality. With these three aspects, we are able to say that we can continue to have profitable and sustainable coffee growing in this region.
So I already talked about a little bit the whys and a little bit of the what. So now I want to go in the how. What are the tools? How we implement this? So our strategic approach is build capacity building, providing technical assistance and farm management guidance to support farmers. Improve resiliency, encourage sustainable farming practices. Invest in the long future, so partner with scientific research and conservation organizations to address broader sustainable issues. Drive performance, leveraging the expertise and resources of our trading partners at origin and partners to scale and make process more efficient. At the end, all of these elements will deliver the real impact that we need for farmers. So the tools are keep partnership at origins. So we really need to implement the requirements of RAIZ, do a baseline assessment, understanding what are the needs, what are the gaps in each context, identifying the key challenges, and establishing a very well-defined technical assistance plan to really assist our farmers. Then we have a scorecard, which is a set of indicators that help us to identify the issues on the social, economic, and environmental aspects, defining a set of key performance indicators in order to measure impact, and of course, monitor and evaluate those impacts. And then from there, we will have our insights and our learnings. So, to provide you an overall picture of what I've been describing until now, let's review this graph. I already talked about that we have a demand, consumer, retailer demand. They want coffee, it's a product, but they don't only want coffee, they want coffee plus sustainability. What are the impacts that I can make? A as a consumer. Then we decided to develop our own S&D platform that has 3 components. The first one, the guidelines, that really are creating best practices at the farm level and that can assure for our customers and consumers that really we're implementing sustainability. The second one, capacity building, so really understanding the needs of each context and delivering that capacity that our farmers and the managers of all the suppliers need on the economic, environmental, and social aspects. And the third one, and more important, the monitor and evaluation, because you need to really measure what is the value. Are you really making an impact? And from there, you define the return on investment, not only for us, but for all the stakeholders involved in this supply chain. Then we have traceability. Traceability is a concept that is embedded, vertically embedded in this supply chain. You cannot have sustainability if you don't have the volumes you're buying, the premium you're buying, the return on investment, then the number of farmers, the list of farmers. So you really have to embed this in order to make sustainable if you want to do any claim about sustainability. Then you have the roasters, which is us. We roast the coffee. It's only a product. But the value of this is you return that coffee, that product, to the retailer and to the consumer with information, valuable data, assured data that is proof. You can go backwards and really make sure that you have those identified, all the numbers from the impact. Then you have the market communication tools. You manage risk. And more importantly, if our consumers want to pay more, how you make sure that they allocate the premiums to the sustainability you want. So communicate that is very important. So going a little bit deeper about the program, the program is structured in a 3-tier approach. I already mentioned, so I'm going to review very fast. Verification, we have the guidelines, so we measure and progress and we analyze the results. The tool for us is the S&D guidelines. The technical assistance, so really supporting farmers on addressing gaps and that are identified in the verification process. And as I mentioned, measure impact. So developing tools, because it's not only that we are demanding go and look for these indicators, it's also creating the tools to measure that data that is valuable not only for us, for the farmer, for the trader, and for us, to really understand what are the impact we are making. Again, I want to thank you here, CI and COSA, to support to develop all these tools for our partners. All of these steps will contribute to the program assurance and the capacity to communicate results at each level of the supply chain, buyers, traders, and the message to the final consumer. For the program, it's key to have the engagement with key partnership. I want to really highlight here the role that our partners played at origin. They are our boots on the ground. They deliver the technical assistance. They implement all the requirements for Raíz platform. The technical assistance to engage farmers in a process towards long-term sustainability. They structure partnerships locally, really investing in a scalable, responsible sourcing models for us. So today, facts. We have currently 17 clusters. Cluster is a group of farmers, any size. They can go from 100 up to 600 farmers per cluster in 6 countries: Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Colombia, Peru, and Brazil. In here, we have around 4,100 farmers. So I want also to explain to you that S&D has been investing and developing a platform for about 4 years. We have been doing some pilots. But today, Raíz is in the 2nd full year of implementation as a sustainable sourcing platform. We have defined with our partners locally and also our strategic partners that is a 3-year program with each cluster, where we have determined together that about in the 3rd year, our farmers will become more professional on the coffee business. On the following years, after the 3rd year, we potentially can do investments in innovation and best agricultural practices. So we'll see what will we end doing up after the third year with our clusters. As today, in average, we are investing $850 per farmer per year. 30% of that goes in cash to the farmer. Sometimes in agreement with the partners, they can negotiate with the farmer if they want cash for the amount of coffee we buy, or if they want inputs like fertilizers or infrastructure investments. The other 70% goes to technical assistance, to visits to the farm, workshops, and the cluster management. Raiz, as a sustainable platform, aims to improve supply chain capacity and performance in the following impact areas: improve farm productivity, profitability, soil health, water management, and increase forestation and or shade in our farms. Please remember that we are on the second full implementation of this platform, and as you saw in the previous slide, we have developed our key performance indicators from our own scorecard. And according with these impact areas, we have also embedded those in the KPIs. As today, we have some data on impacts, but we are being very careful because we haven't implemented the tool to measure real data. So we are in the process to develop the tool that help us, our partners, to capture the data, not make more work. On the opposite, we want to reduce the amount of work, the amount of paperwork, the amount of reporting we have to read, and really concentrate it on the impact data. Then we'll see some real data at the end of 2017 and on the coming years to show. I want to go very quick about the impact areas. Increased productivity is not only increasing the amount of coffee you produce in the hectares you have, it's also be efficient, and it's also to prevent deforestation. Decreased cost of production. We develop, or our partners develop, with the farmers, a keeping record system that contributes to the analysis of the inputs, expenses, income, the time allocated in each activity. This will help on an efficient allocation of resources, really analyze how you're doing in your farm, and potentially decrease cost of production. Enrich soil health, that's self-explanatory. You know, it's like us. If we eat well, we will be doing well. It's the same. In our visits to the farms, we have seen that our farmers sometimes say, I'm applying fertilizer according with my grandfather, and this is the way I do it, this is the amount I do it. But you really have the information, the soil analysis, you're really putting the inputs or the nutrients that the soil needs, you have better productivities, and even you can decrease cost of production. Improve water management. So as we know, coffee is one of the agricultural products that use a lot of water to process. So we need to take care of that, of the wastewater, but at the same time, increase the healthy water for our farmers and for the workers. And support reforestation, self-explanatory. Oh, sorry. So again, I want our farmer Zenaida to explain a little bit some of the impacts from her side, from her perspective she has been having with the Raiz platform.
My name is Zenaida Margolanda. I live here in La Armenia Alta. My husband is Arli Montoya, the owner of this little farm. For the past 3 years, we have seen changes. For example, my husband was one who always kept the wet mill, the fumigator hose, and the machinery disorganized. Then, Leirmar from the cooperative arrived, and he taught us that this could not continue like this because it was toxic. We thought that the farm was just picking coffee and that's it. We never thought about keeping records or accounting. Thanks to them, we're now keeping records and we've been successful. Thanks to you who have visited us, we now see that this is a small family company. We're very happy because of this.
días, mi nombre es Eneida Marulanda.
Okay. Oh. So what's next? What are the next steps? So as we just heard from Zenaida, we want to have the numbers that support her strong story about, organizing the farm. It's not just picking coffee, it's making this as a business, as a family business. This is a very strong story, and we have many of those, but we really need to create the data that will support that story. So for that, we need to improve the metrics through our engaging with our partners and facilitating the tools that allow us to measure impact, outcome, and outputs. Have a real data that provide us the assurance of our investments, not only S&D investments, but everyone engaging on it, even our consumers. This provides two types of data for us. Data that would allow us to review our progress and improve our efforts for the continuous improvement and sustainability approach, and data that will allow us to build a story of before and after, and making sure that all the stakeholders have access to the information to determine the return on investment in this platform. Then, we can have a big data to create stories about the coffee and work very closely with the marketing team to transmit this message to the customers as well to the final consumer. Really important here, I want to highlight, it's very difficult sometimes when you talk about sustainability. You're so technical. I feel like I'm speaking another language. Here, we speak the same language. If you go outside and try to explain this to a consumer, it's very difficult. How you create a tweet with all this impact, 100 words, how you can transmit that to the consumer, very important, to capture that value they're willing to pay. So we need to work on that as an industry. So investing in a long-term sustainability is not only a risk management tool, it can also drive innovation on the supply chain, how you source coffee, on sustainability at the farm level, and really delivering impact to the entire supply chain. Doing this, you can redesign your products to meet environmental standards and social needs. You can even offer new products. You can develop new ideas. And more importantly, you can do better business and create a better economic opportunity for farmers. Thank you.